What's going on, YouTube? FloppyWaffle69 here, and today we are starting a new Down the Line series. It is going to be down the line to the USSR's Delny here in the Soviet main tech tree line, DD line, I think is the right designation for the ship. But nevertheless, we are going down the Delny line, and like we all do, we start at tier 5 because this is where we get less from shooty boats to more like methodical thinking gameplay, like rock paper scissors ish, though not as much as it used to be back then when I started playing, but still kind of a little bit more, I don't know, thinking ish. Yeah, I'm gonna stop. Anyways, here we are. We're at the tier 5 USSR's Podvoisky, the DD here. Now, obviously, this line did receive some massive changes. I believe in update 14.3, if I'm not mistaken. Back when I went down this line, way back in the day, I believe the Gnevny was tier 5. The Ognavoy was tier 6. There was no Grozovoy or Udaloy, and it went down to the Khabarovsk. Little confession. The Khabarovsk is by far, without a doubt, my favorite DD. And as I don't want to go off too much on a rant here about it, I do believe the Kaba to be in a very, very poor state, though I love her to death, so I still find very much enjoyment in her, though she is more of a chore to play, other than like the Khaber and other, Smalin and other DDs that we are having running around amok at tier 10. They're just better alternatives, right? But they yanked that bitch out of the top of the tech tree, and they inserted this fucking thing. And now, I've never played this thing originally. But obviously, when I started going down, like, what line am I going to do now? I've done a cruiser line. I've done a battleship line. I was like, fuck it, I'm going to do a DD line. I thought this would be a good DD line to do because they received some changes. So I'm sure a lot of people want to check them out and see if there are any more good than they used to be, viable now, whatever. And let me say, guys, right off the get-go, I think these ships are a blast. Before, these were not a very good introductory DD line to the game at all. I still don't think they are the best option for new DD players. I still think there's better options, but I'm not reviewing it because I think this is a good introductory line. I'm interviewing this because of the changes that happened, and it's one of my favorite lines, or used to be. And it's giving me a fresh look at these low tiers, low to middle tiers that I really didn't play. I mean, more or less, I think Soviet DDs going down to the Delny were pretty much dead. I mean, you'd see the occasional Kiev, you'd see the occasional Tashkent, you'd never see a Delny. And the thing came into the game, kicked the Kaba out, and I still saw more Kabas. So that just kind of showed you what they were going for, how bad that design or that decision was made by Wargaming, let's be honest. But these ships are a blast. I'm actually having a lot of fun with them now, especially because at like middle tiers, I can now slot the heal instead of the smoke, which I've already been accustomed to with the Haba, which is how I feel I'd play the Kaba anyways. And I am having an absolute blast. These 130s are fun. They're super fast. And overall, just better. I mean, the torpedoes are at least usable. Before they had the quad, or the 4-kilometer torpedoes, and I saw people, they had to use their torpedoes and they'd go in and die. I mean, it was not uncommon, besides in Omaha blowing up first, to have Russian DDs first blooded. It was very, very common. So, but hopefully I'm going to teach you guys by the end of this video, or not teach you, but, tell you guys and show you guys just how good they are. And how to play them, some tips and tricks on them. So like we do, we start off looking under the hood, and we go from there. So starting off the bat here with the Podvoisky at tier 5. She is, with her armor layout, it's a standard. It's 10 kilometers. I mean, this is probably the easiest thing. I really didn't need to go and show you guys this because this is pretty standard for tier 5 DDs and DDs onward. Like, there's really no improved armor DDs until you get to 8, 9, and 10, I think, with the Elbing line, and then with the Haba and with the Ragnar. There's certain DDs that do have that at their disposal, but a lot of them, they don't. They usually just have standard across the board so they can pen each other, yada, 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 that kind of stuff. So that's your armor layout. And then survivability. Obviously, I have the flag on, so disregard what you see on screen, but I'm going to tell you that its standard health pool is 12,700 HP. So not terrible. I find that to be 100% usable at this tier. If I go to the filtered ships in this line, when we go to the health section, I think the Jaguar is 16,600, and that's topping the charts, where the low end is the Visby at 9,600. So we're kind of dead smack in the middle there, to a little bit higher, right? So on the higher end, not really middle, but more on the higher end, right? So Not too shabby. You're going to need that, especially when you're playing with the heal. And again, the heal can allow you to regain some of that lost HP, which you will see in the replays. Going into the artillery, and I will go ahead and show up the firing angles. I will not forget this time. I will not forget. 5x1, 130 millimeter guns. These are awesome guns. These are frickin' laser beams, and I love them. I love these shells. Very comfortable to use. The armor piercing is very potent. A lot of light cruisers, you have to be aware of these DDs. The 130 schmills will, boom, right in your citadel if you're not careful. So you can't just go flat broadside thinking you're going to nuke a DD, because in return, they will nuke you. They reload in 7.5 seconds. They have a 180-degree turn time of 11.2. Now, I do take I believe it's in the third slot, I do take that artillery mod 2, not aiming systems. I want a little bit more flexibility. And not to mention, I believe these turrets are 360, if I'm not mistaken. At least the rear ones are. I had to double check on that, but I'm pretty sure that is one of the buffs they did add to the ships, that it can rotate its broadside a little bit better. So it allows it to be a little bit more flexible, which is super nice and super convenient. And again, adding that in the third slot is going to allow it to turn even faster, especially when you mix it with the expert marksman skill, which you never really want to do. It's going to be super comfortable to use, not really a downside anymore like it used to be, right? Dispersion values are standard. Again, because you're not taking the aiming systems mod, you will notice shells every now and then missing. It's going to happen, guys, but in my opinion, it's a trade that I would love to take. I'm going to worthwhile taking. I highly recommend it. If you disagree with me, by all means, slap the aiming systems mod on this bitch. It's fine. Absolutely fine. And the maximum range is going out to 10.5 kilometers, which you can change with the certain captain skills if you so choose. At tier 5, I don't really find it necessary, but again, all up to you. With that HE, you're coming in at 1900 with the maximum shell damage with a 9% fire chance, or am I wrong? Is that with flags? That might be with flags. Yes, it's an 8% fire chance, not 9, so that's with the flags, so 8%, not bad, and you're averaging about 3.2 fires per minute, which is, it's okay. It's not great. There's definitely better DDs that are going to be better, floatier shells, faster firing shells than this. I mean, these are 7.5 kilometers. So you're going to find that this is not a DD up and close brawling kind of DD, knife fighting other DDs. This is going to be more medium range, using your shell velocity to your advantage to outtrade enemy DDs efficiently rather than up close and personal, because you're not going to be able to do that against the likes of the Nicholas, just to name at least one ship on this list of multiple ships, right? And they can penetrate 22 millimeters of armor, which is more than enough for DDs, and then obviously some cruisers obviously as well, right? So AP shells clocking in at 2,500 damage. Nice. You will, again, get citadels on Omahas, Emeralds, Königsbergs. Again, if they're showing flat broadside, load and lock the AP, because you will 100% devastate the enemy cruisers. You'll rack up those citadel ribbons. So, yeah. Again, going to the torpedoes, 2x3, the 533 millimeter torpedoes. You do get them. They are center mounted, so they can go through either broadside here, guys. They only travel 6 kilometers. Now, before they used to only travel 4. So, again, that is a massive win for all of us. I think it allows them to be utilized in more scenarios than not. Doing only around 11,233 damage, which, again, compared to other destroyers, isn't that much, I believe. Let me just go to the filtered ships here, and we'll look at the torpedoes. Yeah, I mean, you're pretty much middle of the road. Middle to bottom, actually, I believe. Visby doing the least at 6,200, and the most clocking in with Yanwei at 16,700. So you have them. You're going to be able to use them now, thank God. They travel 59 knots with a detectable range of 1.2 kilometers. And just so everyone is aware with that and how it is calculated in regards of like reaction timing, your enemies are going to have around 7.6 seconds reaction time to go ahead and dodge these torpedoes without the use of the hydroacoustic search or any captain skill or anything like that. So you have them. That's nice. Thank God they're no longer 4. AA, useless. Might as well not even talk about it. Maneuverability. This is a good one to talk about a little bit. Your max speed is clocking in at 42 knots, and your acceleration, your rudder shift time is going at 3.2 with a 700 meter turning circle radius. The rudder shift is nice with a 3.2, but you will notice the turning circle radius. You are second worst, only coming in second to the other Soviet premium destroyer at this tier, which would be the Ochotnik with the 730. So these things take a while to loop around and turn, so you're going to have to be careful. Torpedoes are always a threat to Soviet DDs, so you're going to have to pick your spots when to turn and use your judgment and foresight and intuition to basically know when to go ahead and turn out and disengage and utilize your range of your guns to your advantage. But yeah, they. I don't want to say they turn like a truck, but again, maybe for this tier for DD wise, going against other DDs at tier 5, yeah, it kind of turns like a truck compared to other DDs. I think the best, most agile DD, there's actually a tie for a lot of them, but like the Acosta and T-22 are coming in at 540 meters a second, which is very, very comfortable. So 700 meters, just again, you can totally play with this. It's not a big downside. Just plan ahead of your maneuvers, basically. So. And then coming in with your overall concealment, your detect by sea, again, is 7.1 kilometers, and your detect by air is 3.2. Again, super usable. And again, if you slap your commander on there, it does go down to 6.4, which is awesome and super nice as well. So final thoughts here before I show you some gameplay of the Podvoisky. The Podvoisky, in my opinion, I had a great experience with. I only had to play it a couple times to really get a gist of how this ship plays. I think she's a great DD at this tier and is awesome. The other DDs leading up to her, which I can't even pronounce, the one that starts with the D at tier 3, and the one that starts with an IY at tier 4, those are super fun DDs too, and I'd love to cover those in the future for you guys, but I know that a lot of people just really don't care about low tier anymore, which is super sad. But I figured Podvoisky is a great, tier again, like I showed with the New York and what I showed with the Furataka to kind of really get a gist of how the line plays. Again, the last thing I want to stress, just because the ship tool, when I took the screenshot, didn't really show, it does have the ability to slot the heel. Now, this is going to be a discussion. Well, do I take the smoke screen or do I take the heel? Listen, in my opinion for you guys, if you are newer to DDs and if you are not as confident in your abilities to dodge or know who you're fighting, that kind of stuff, like less aware like of certain ships in the game, right? Take the smoke generator. It is the safer option, and you're going to be able to use it way more than not in most situations. The heal I would require for anyone more of the experienced DD player or just experienced player in general. I think you're going to get more out of it. It's very unique to have a tier 5 DD with a heal, and I've been really enjoying it, especially because, again, I've played the Cobb. I know the Cobb, played it hundreds of times with a heal, so it's very familiar with me, this play style bringing it down to tier 5. And again, it does not disappoint, guys. This is a great ship. So yeah, that's kind of my recommendation on whether the heal or the smoke screen. Again, it's going to be up to you. I definitely recommend doing both to see what you like, and then whatever you like, again, that's what I would stick with. It's going to be the most fun for you. Again, I would recommend different builds, whether if you're going to be using the smoke screen or the heal. The way I play these DDs is with the heal, because I think the heal, again, like I said, is unique. I think these ships are made to be played with the heal personally. They're supposed to be visible. They're supposed to be actively shooting. They're not really supposed to fall off detection and use their torpedoes too much. Again, there are times we're going to cover over that, but basically that's what makes these ships so unique and fun. Are these DDs strong? I think definitely now the middle tiers are stronger than ever before. I still think they're, again, in the middle of the pack. These ships have clear, distinct weaknesses, and they have clear, distinct strengths, which is how the game should be. That's called balance. A lot of ships would benefit from actually, getting brought back to reality in this game in regards of reality, not the real world, because let's be honest, this is not that. This is a sandboxy vanilla game. So anyways, without further ado, enough rambling on, let's go into game and check her out, how she does in battle. Alrighty, guys, here we are in battle with the Podvoisky. Again, this video is going to be pretty short. Tier 5, there's really not too much to talk about and cover, as the gameplay is pretty self-explanatory. In my opinion, these DDs are more, like I said, in port, mid-range DDs. I just find that because the reload isn't too fast, not too much DACA going down range at one time. Like reload times basically are a little bit too slow for me. They're not the best cap contenders either, so you're going to have to play with your head on a swivel, so to speak, and have good map awareness. And again, know who you're fighting with DDs. At the end of the day, the biggest threat to you obviously is rogue torpedoes and everyone else that is pointing their guns to you to shoot. It's not necessarily other DDs because you can reliably handle them to some degree. But the second you find yourself in close with another destroyer, that is that could be painful. So again, notice how the enemy showed up, or the enemy DD, I think it's an enemy, showed up, and I'm keeping range. I'm actually sailing away from the cap, but I'm keeping range with my speed boost active, keeping range, and reliably hitting him with my great shell velocity and my 530 millimeter guns. So again, 7.5 seconds is on the longer side, but definitely the damage is there with this 130s as you are clocking in at 1900 max HE alpha strike potential with these. So. But you know, some of the things I was covering in port, I really didn't go over the statistics with like the smoke screen and the heal. So with the repair party, you only get 2 charges base, and I believe this carries up all the way up the tech tree, I want to say, to the Delny. They last for about 28 seconds, and you're healing about 14% given on that heal. So they're not terrible heals. I think the Cobb has the 20% one, so it has like a little bit improved, which is nice. So I don't think this is not improved at all. This is pretty standard on a DD. For the smoke screen, you have about a 20-second action time with the consumable, and it dispersion lasts for about 85 seconds with a radius of 450 meters. So the smoke is certainly nice, especially when you go to higher tiers. I believe you can pretty much chain off these smokes on rapid succession, having pretty small or little lull in between like your smoke completely fading until your smoke consumable is up again. So again, we'll cover that when we get up to higher tiers, whether or not I recommend smoke or heal on the ship. Again, it basically comes down to you as a DD player, and what you feel comfortable with is kind of what I would recommend. Though there is one ship in the line that I would recommend you run a smoke rather than a heal. And when we get to that ship, I'll make sure I tell you. And again, it's just my opinion based upon playing the ships multiple times and kind of getting a vibe for them. So. But yeah, basically the Podvoisky, very, very fast. I believe it's clocking in at just over 42 knots of top speed, and that's without the access of the CR mic flag or with the speed boost active. I believe with the speed boost active and all that, you are clocking in just under 50, if I'm not mistaken, with the CR mic active as well. Very, very fast DDs, hard to hit, can be a pain in the ass to a lot of other ships with floatier shells, such as cruisers and some DDs. So the best way to play the Podvoisky, in my opinion, is like right here. I would not recommend an engagement this close. Obviously, my hands are tied, and I'm actively maneuvering, trying to get him to bait out his torpedoes in the wrong direction, because that is the biggest threat to me. If I open up flat broadside, I will not likely dodge the torpedoes and most likely eat all of them, or at least just one, which is enough to cripple me completely and ruin my entire game. It does suck, though. Side note that the enemy New York is AFK. I hate to see that. I think it definitely ruins everybody's fun to some degree. So, God, I wish there was some kind of thing Wargaming could do. Maybe like, I don't know, if you're inactive for over a minute, like a bot takes your place and plays your ship for a bit, and then if you log back in, you immediately gain control over your ship, rather than just sitting in the back AFK. So, but yeah, actively maneuvering, knowing when I can launch use all my turrets in action rather than not, and sailing flat broadside. I think it depends. You have to really read the scenario, know your DDs you're fighting. Obviously, the Mitsuki, I know, is a torpedo boat through and through. Has only like 2 guns, so I have to play around that. Thank God we hit the brakes here. So, but you can see it's hard. This thing does turn like a truck at this tier in compared to other DDs. So, basically, one way I would like to describe the DDs, and this is going to be kind of the theme going down the line all the way to the Delny, are that these DDs are light cruisers without a citadel. That's basically how I would like to play them. There are other DD lines in this game that are going to do the same exact thing, arguably better, like the Elbing line, in my opinion. Those are the definition of light cruisers, right, without a citadel. But this is similar to that. And you're going to have to try to utilize all your guns all the time. These ships are not going to be your torpedo boats sneaking around the battlefield and getting off torpedo strikes. Their torpedoes are there to throw them out downrange, and hopefully while the enemy ship either is maneuvering or isn't maneuvering, happens to sail in there and take 1 or 2, maybe causes a flood, and you can chain flood and fires on them and burn out their damage control party. DDs definitely have a lot of power, especially at this tier, and that does not change. So definitely make sure to utilize that to the fullest. with her. So another thing about her speed is she is allowed and or able to traverse the map relatively quick, and it allows you to get to areas to support your allies in a quick manner, right? And that's exactly what I'm going to do here. I'm going to make a beeline for the B cap and then see if I can create a little bit of a crossfire here and maybe catch in on a suspecting DD with his pants down and eliminate him from the game. The game is looking pretty good as we've only lost one ship compared to like what they're 5 or 6. Again, you have a lot of power as a DD at this tier, especially when you find yourself in a non-carrier game. This is super nice. Also, on a side note, the homing torpedoes of enemy submarines are a big threat to these ships as they don't turn particularly well. And again, you'll notice that as we climb up the tiers, especially when submarines arguably get better and better and better, homing torpedoes get better and better and better. You will notice that these ships will eat homing torpedoes from time to time. It's just, even if you do everything right, it'll happen just because they turn like absolute trucks. So. But yeah, so far we've been having ourselves kind of a so-so game. I mean, we only have like 3 kills with 38,000 damage. Again, that's nothing impressive by any DD's standards, I believe. I think that's almost pretty much average or just maybe slightly above. I don't know. I really have no idea when it comes to statistics. I just try to illustrate some good points and tips for you guys to, and build so that you guys have a good time. Because sometimes I feel like people just need to be steered in the right direction. This game can be very confusing. And again, there's a lot of players, especially a lot of content creators that just give you cookie cutter builds that that work for them, but not necessarily work for the best, and that's fine too. I mean, if that's what you believe in, if you trust the big name guys out there, that's again great. I mean, we all did it to some degree, but then once you learn the game, you kind of find out what works for you. And I try, and on my channel, I try to illustrate not only builds that are great for if you want to transfer your captain from your 6 to the 7 to the 8 to the 9 to the 10, but also for ship specific, which I think is the way to play this game. It's sad. I see a lot of people just move captains all over the place, and man, I get it. I get it. It's a grindy game, or it can be at least. And some people don't want to start a new captain. I get it. It's a pain in the ass because you're at such a massive disadvantage. But the one thing I absolutely cannot stand is when we're floating around our legendary commanders just across all of our ships. I've seen people do this all the time. So not only are, let's say, for example, Kuznetsov going on all the premium ships, all our Soviet premium ships, but then they have to like retrain them for each tutorial video for the specific ship that they're doing. I think that's just honestly fucking stupid, because most people aren't going to do that and spend doubloons or in-game resources to do that to every fucking ship. And again, they're picking cherry-picked gameplay that's going to produce, not necessarily accurate results for you, because they are in different levels. You know what I mean? I think the best thing you can do is just show people the meat and potatoes of like, this is what you're going to be able to mainly achieve in the majority of your games, and go at it. Just knowing that, hey, this is more achievable than seeing someone get, 9 kills at a tier 5 game and 200,000 damage, if that is even possible. So that's at least what I try to do. Just a side tangent there from me. But back to the ship in hand here. Obviously, we are 1 kill away from not only the Kraken, but also winning this game. And it happens to be a very, very dangerous ship to DDs. The Royal Navy battleship line loves their high explosives, and that is a crippling artillery type or shell type for enemy destroyers, such as my own. Not only can it destroy my torpedo tubes and make them inactive, but it can also take me down to basically 0 health if he lands all of his shells, right? And the Iron Duke is a very, very potent and strong tier 5 BB. So I know what I'm doing here. I kind of know what I'm getting myself into. Granted, I think even with me dying, we will still win this game. And I think I have just enough HP that I can still take a salvo or, maybe a couple shells from the Iron Duke and still manage to live and kill this guy. Again, I'm torpedoing where I think he's going to turn. I think he's going to do a full turn in towards me to get all of his turrets off. Obviously, I think I launched those just a little bit too early. And then I'm kind of waiting and holding on to my other torpedoes, knowing until I know I'm going to be able to land these torpedoes. So it's a good kind of tactic to utilize in, early DD plays, and DD's, more senior as well. Going down, when you climb and you get better at this game, is don't launch all your torpedoes at once, because if you miss all your torpedoes, then you're kind of shit out of luck, right? So again, there's that HE that I was talking about here. Very potent, very, very potent. Finishing off with the Kraken, which is super nice. Again, this was my first battle, I believe I played, of like the 3 that I played in this thing. I think this was my best one, getting very similar results in all of them. This was an E rank game, which is awesome. Again, only 63,000 damage, guys. Completely doable by any of you and all of you out there. So I think finishing with what 2100 base XP or something like that too. So, and I'll make sure to show that as well. But anyways, guys, hopefully you enjoyed the review. Hopefully this gameplay shed some light on just what this ship can do. And hopefully you guys take her out there and have a blast of a time like I did. So anyways, again, hope you enjoyed the video, and I will go ahead and see myself out and catch you all next time. Peace out.